Now, the Ekiti State Magistrate Court has remanded Dele Farotimi, a human rights advocate, over alleged defamation. Farotimi was arraigned on a 16-count charge by the police on Wednesday. The activist pleaded not guilty to all the charges. The police accused Farotimi of criminally defaming Afe Babalola, a senior advocate of Nigeria, in a book titled Nigeria and its Criminal Justice System.
Afe Babalola corrupted the judiciary, and in corrupting the judiciary, it came across my practice. When I came across it, I challenged it as a lawyer, and I fought it to the point where he could not enjoy the fruit of his exertion in the Supreme Court. In writing the letter that he wrote to the then Chief Justice of Lagos State, Ayomide Philip, he libeled me, and I sued him for libel. And when I sued for libel, the machines of corruption went into overdrive, and a case that should never have been killed at the preliminary stage was killed. If Afe Babalola was the only person who is licensed to enjoy that level of impunity, that's different. It's not about him. It's a system-wide problem. You simply can't get justice from the system.
I mean, on the screen, you just saw a video that, of course, was an interview a while ago where Dele Farotimi actually did speak on this matter. But joining me on the program at this time to discuss on the issues around this, because this matter has not just elicited reaction. There are also feelers that even the book has experienced a spike in sales. But let me bring in Emmanuel Onwubiko, the National Coordinator of the Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria. Thank you for joining the program, Emmanuel. And also, I have a legal practitioner, David Ogundipe, is the lead partner at Ernest & Tony's LP. He joins me also on the program. Thank you for joining in, David.
You're welcome, Dio. It's a privilege to be on the program.
All right, great. Let me start with you, particularly from a legal standpoint. All of this that is happening. First, some have questioned if the police acted out of order. Is that, out of order, the arrest by the police, particularly holding him?
Thank you, Dio. So it's important to, understand the purpose of my invitation and stick with it. So the police are not out of order to have arrested Mr. Dele Farotimi on the allegation of defamation, because defamation as it stands in Nigeria, with the exclusion of states like Lagos states, Edo states, has both the criminal components and the civil components. So the direct answer, as it relates to Ekiti State and Nigeria generally, the police were not wrong to have arrested Mr. Dele Farotimi. That is the direct answer for a starter.
All right, but let's also look at this issue from a holistic perspective. The fact that the issue of defamation, on the person of the SAN, Afe Babalola, what do you make of it?
Well, once a matter has been submitted to the court for judicial deliberation, legal practitioners are advised to put the part of honor by not saying too much about it. But the little I can say about it at the moment is that I had the privilege of having a glimpse of the charge prior to this interview. Then the video you also played a few minutes ago, I would say that there are reasons, or I would say that there would be reasons for Afe Babalola to lodge a complaint of defamation of character with the police. Based on what I read what was quoted to have been said by Mr. Dele Farotimi, then what I saw, the video that was pleaded. So I think because what is defamation? It is the first question we must ask. If we look at the criminal code, and I'm talking about the criminal code act, and I think that that component of the criminal code act has been domesticated in Ekiti State. So if you look at the criminal code law of Ekiti State, you see it there. There's a component that states that publications. Now, what is publication? Contrary to the notion among the general populace that publication is when something is in print and all that, in law, there's a bit of departure. Publication is when something is heard by a third party or when something is read by a third party. So for instance, if you write something against me, which is a libellous component of the thought of defamation, the spoken word is the, the slander. If you write something against me in Lagos, if you publish a book against me in Lagos, if I read the book in Abuja or someone reads the book in Abuja, publication is taken to have taken place in Abuja at the place where the person read it. So in this case, there could be a basis for the arrest of Mr. Dele Farotimi in Lagos, then taking him to Ekiti. If the person who is standing is saying that, okay, I actually read the said defamatory content in Ekiti State. So Ekiti is taken as the place of publication in that context. That is what I have to say about that.
Okay, I would like to bring in Justice Uhuegbu, who is also a legal practitioner, into the conversation this evening. It's great to have you on the program again, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
All right. Let me start by asking, from a legal standpoint, your take on what, we've seen with Dele Farotimi so far.
Well, the truth is that, yes, defamation, there is criminal defamation in our criminal code. There are no two ways about it. So there's also defamation of character, libel in the civil aspect. So I think when such has happened, it now depends on the person who has been or who felt had been injured wants to follow either the civil part or the criminal part. Yes, like we all know, nobody is above the law. Once there is, a purportedly crime has been committed, purportedly, because it's still an allegation, so to say, and like the Constitution made it clear that every accused person is presumed innocent until proven guilty by a court of competent jurisdiction. Yes, an allegation has been made for criminal defamation or libel. It's okay. And police has arrested him. It's okay because nobody is above the law. Everybody is subject to the law. But I think the problem there now is what happens next. He should be charged to court, and if he's charged to court, it's a available offense. There's no two ways about it. It's not a capital offense.
All right. I would like to read part of the charges, just an excerpt of the charges. It says that you, Dele Farotimi, sometimes in 2024, authored, published, and circulated your book titled Nigeria and Its Criminal Justice System, which was received and read all over the world, including Ado-Ekiti and within the Ado-Ekiti Magistrate District, wherein you alleged in page X that Afe Babalola, Oludaramola, Olufaro, and the law offices of Afe Babalola and Co., that's Emmanuel Chambers, comprised the Supreme Court and the remaining semblances of integrity it might have had when they went back to the Supreme Court and got the court to swim in the sewer of corruption and shameful self-abnegation, which statements you knew were false and likely to injure the reputation of the said Afe Babalola SAN. And it goes on and on. So my question is, what is the line between defamation here and freedom of speech?
Well, there is actually freedom of speech. But you see, no right is absolute. In exercising your right of freedom of speech, one should also be careful in order not to injure or impute on another person's character. And I believe in the wisdom of the law. That is why the law, was put in place in order to checkmate, the excesses of people. No right is absolute, like I said before. Yes, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, there are no two ways about it. But you must do it within the ambit of the law. Now we have still a charge. Like I said, it's still an allegation. He has to defend himself. There's no two ways about it. I don't have much problem with that. Simple as that. But the issue there now is this. Like what transpired in court. What we should be concerned now is why would the court reject him bail? Is he not available offense? That is what we should be concerned now. And at the time he was arrested, and at the time he was taken to court, what did the law say? Because the law says the person must be brought to court within 24 hours. So what is this matter?
I'm sorry, I want you to take that today. What does, what does the law say? You said?
Within 24 hours.
That's when an individual should be given bail.
Yes, by the police. Or coming to court.
So you are saying then postponing it till December 10th is out of the provisions of the law. David, I would like you to speak on the issue of,
yes, please.
Defamation and freedom of expression. Of course, before I come back to justice.
Okay. Thank you. The right of expression, the freedom of expression, is God-given, and it is something that must be protected at all costs among every civilized nation. And testament to that is the fact that if you look at the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, it is clearly stated that there is a right to freedom of expression. But that right to freedom of expression is qualified, which means in exercising your freedom of expression, there are lines you must not cross. The Constitution is explicit on it that this exercise of rights to freedom of expression must conform with whatever is stated in other legislations, act of the National Assembly. So, for instance, the same Constitution that guarantees the right to freedom of expression guarantees the right to dignity of human person. So, where do we draw the line? Where Mr. A intends to exercise his right to freedom of expression, and Mr. B thinks he has a name, a reputation to protect. We draw the line by stating that do not say that which is untrue, which is false, which you cannot defend against Mr. B. So if you are going to say it, you should contemplate that after saying it, you could be invited. And like Mr. Justice said, there's the criminal component of defamation, there's the civil component, but the place I differ is that you do not necessarily have to pick one of two. You can actually pursue both at a time, and you can pursue it one after the other. So now, the law says that when you choose to say something, you can say whatever you want to say, but then when called upon to come and establish it, you must be able to prove it. If you say, for instance, assuming, like I'm saying, the matter is sub judice, what Mr. Dele Farotimi has said about Afe Babalola, what he has been invited to court to do is to make his case. By the petition and arrest, Afe Babalola is saying that this thing that has been said, in line with the law of defamation, has injured my character, has injured my credibility, has exposed me to untold ridicule. I have a name to protect. The court should invite him to come and say his side. So there's opportunity for Mr. Dele Farotimi in his defense to say that, yes, the allegation of corruption I made against you is true. These are the particulars, these are the details, these are my witnesses. So I think that majority of Nigerians, we approach the issue of right from a very thin perspective, we feel that, oh, I can say whatever I like and all that. So if we look at it from a thick perspective, which is usually the all-encompassing perspective, we understand that where our right starts, another person's own ends. And when you are exercising your right, it must be with recourse to the rights of other people too. So thank you.
All right. At this point, we'll go on a quick break, commercial break. When we return, of course, the show will pick up. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. This is still Politics HQ on News Central Television. Well, we, of course, are talking about the issue of defamation and freedom of expression, particularly within the context of the Dele Farotimi case. I still have my guest with me. Let me go back to Justice on this one. Justice, we lost you for a moment. You were trying to sort of fault the conditionalities, permit me to use the word, around the continued detention in the context of bail. I would like you to speak more on that. You said it appears like the police are acting out of line, holding him beyond 24 hours. No, we are unable to hear you. Okay,
can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All I'm trying to say is this. You see, the police, upon arrest, has the constitutional right to detain for 24 hours. And after 24 hours, they
okay, Justice, I'm made to understand that we might need you to disconnect the earpiece for very clear audio.
ערב טוב. אני מעדכן.
Okay, wait a minute. Are you hearing me now? Is this so clear now?
Is there a way you can disconnect the earpiece?
Yeah, I can, but okay.
Okay. Maybe while, of course, we are at that, let me just come back to David on that one. I mean, looking at the conditions for... Okay, Justice, we're unable to hear you. We need you to take it off completely. All right, Justice, we'll come back to you on that. David, I would like you to please explain bail conditions and how it works within the legal framework, particularly on this case. Is the police acting out of line?
Okay, so there are essentially three types of bail. I think at this stage of the case, we can just talk about two, which is administrative bail, which I can also call police bail. That's when the person has been arrested, after investigation, when the person is awaiting trial, being arraigned in court. That is when we see it. It happens all the time. So we have the court bail when a person has been formally brought before the court. So I think the one that applies to Mr. Dele Farotimi in this case at this stage is court bail. Now, generally, bails should be granted to persons accused of committing a criminal offense because the Constitution is clear that every person who has been accused of committing a criminal offense is presumed innocent until the contrary is proven. But there are, to every general, there's an exception. If you look at, capital offenses, I'm talking about like murder, armed robbery, the court sparingly grants bail. I did not say that the courts do not grant bail. I'm saying sparingly, which means there must be exceptional circumstances necessitating the need for the grant of bail, considering the gravity of the offense, possibility that the person could be a flight risk, the person could do something funny and all that. Now, let's narrow it down to this case. In Mr. Dele Farotimi's case, I think ordinarily, Mr. Dele Farotimi should be entitled to bail even on self-recognizance or in the most liberal term. Is a well-known Nigerian, irresponsible Nigeria. It could have been granted bail on self-recognizance. It could have been granted bail on very liberal term. So it's being held on the surface ordinarily should not be. And I said ordinarily because I do not know what happened in court. Without prejudice to whatever happened in court, the court would have, suggested that the bail application be brought formally. That means by filing of court processes, assuming the counsel representing Mr. Farotimi made the bail application orally. So there are certain dynamics that, there are certain information that we need to have to issue informed opinion, informed advice in relation to this issue, and we must be very careful to make very overreaching remarks, particularly when the facts are not so there. So that's it generally on bail applications.
Okay, I think we can come back to justice now so that you can establish your point. Justice, are you there?
Yeah, I'm with you. So can you hear me loud and clear now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say, just like my friend said, for me, it's not even an issue of granting him bail on self-recognition or what, but the issue there is this. Constitutionally, and even by enabling laws and statutes, the offense which he is charged is a bailable offense. And as soon as he goes to court, the court has a duty to grant him bail. It is now at the discretion of the court whether to grant him bail on self-recognition or not. That one is aside. But the issue is that it is a bailable offense. So I do not know the reason why the court should adjourn the matter for a later date, maybe to consider bail. For me, it is an aberration. And let us also understand something. Truth is a defense in libel and defamation of character. So it's only when the matter continues that they will not know whether what Farotimi is saying is the truth or not. But first of all, let the matter commence. And again, let me also comment on this. How many count charges are we having here? To me, I see the whole count charges as a repetition of all the counts, the same thing. What are we saying? From the counts we've seen here, 2 or 3 count charges for me is enough to deal with this matter.
Justice, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. You've said quite a number of things, but let's bring this holistically to the judiciary right now, particularly within the context of if at all reforms are needed and the administration of justice. I think I would start with David. I know that you men are very learned gentlemen and you are part of that system, but before we go on a break, is the judiciary fair?
Okay, the question is the judiciary fair?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
For me, I think the judiciary is fair. And when you express views, because you've asked me an opinion question, when you are asked an opinion question, you are answering based on your experience and what you've seen. I think the judiciary is fair. But I feel that, like I said, nuances, they come to play many of the times. For instance, we have criminal trials where, clients, they keep asking questions. Okay, why is it dragging? Why is it dragging the administration of justice system and everything? We know that, the prosecution, the defense counsel, the court, the police are different components of the administration of criminal justice law, or administration of criminal justice. But I think that there are times that we place undue blame on the judiciary because there are things that the court cannot do for counsel. For instance, you get to court, sometimes you intend to prosecute a case, the police prosecutor is not in court. And before, as a defense counsel, before you can make an application for non-diligent prosecution, it must have been a repeated act that the court should have observed, because it would not serve the interest of justice if a party is not in court once and the court decides that, oh, the party is not in court, let the charge be struck out or something. You do not know what has happened to the person. it must have been demonstrated that the person has made it an habit. So for me, is the judiciary fair? Yes. Is there room for improvement? Yes. There's a lot of room for improvement. There's a lot of room for improvement. For instance, beyond the law, we have the law. And whether a law is bad, whether it is good, it remains the law. I do not share the view that in the 21st century, that defamation should be criminalized. I do not share that view. But what is the law today? The law is that in most states in Nigeria and in Nigeria generally, there's a criminal component of defamation, the offense of defamation, and you cannot advise a party who feels that this is one that would better serve my interest, whether what you want to do to a party is to, create a form of deterrence, or whether you want to pursue the civil dimension. So it's at the sole discretion of the party that is alleging that it has been defamed.
Okay, thank you so much for that, David. We need to pay bills. When we return, of course, the show continues. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. This is still Politics HQ on News Central Television. And of course, we are talking about defamation and freedom of expression, particularly within the context of the Dele Farotimi case. I still have my guest with me. I would like to go to bring in Justice on this one. Justice, just the same question I asked David about the fairness of Nigeria's legal system. Permit me to read some statistics here. Now, according to the Justice Needs and Satisfaction Survey, about 81% of Nigerians experience at least one legal problem in the past year, with many facing multiple problems. Now, the most common issues include disputes with neighbors, domestic violence, land disputes, crime, housing problems, and these problems often go unresolved, with only 55% of legal problems being partially or completely resolved, according to this survey. Now, it furthermore says 86% of Nigerians with legal problems take some form of action to address their most serious problems, but frequently rely on informal sources, such as family, friends, rather than the formal legal channels. I don't know if you followed my line of thoughts, Justice. Are you with me? Justice, we are unable to hear you. Justice, we are unable to hear you. Okay, I think we can hear you now. Are you with me? Did you follow my line of thought? Okay, Justice, we are unable to hear you at this time. It looks like there's a bit of connectivity issues. I would like...
I think that's what is disturbing. Can you hear me now?
Okay, we can hear you now. We can hear you a bit now. Okay. Justice. I think we would definitely come back to you, Justice, because we're having a bit of connectivity issues. Let me direct the question to David. David, I believe you had my analysis. It seems that from this report, it says 86% of Nigerians with legal problems take some form of action to address their most serious problems, but frequently rely on informal sources. I mean, this reflects a lack of maybe trust on the judicial system. Why do you think that is?
Okay, thank you, Dayo. I cannot outrule the issue of distrust in the judicial system as one of the reasons responsible for the findings in that report. There is a general distrust Nigerians have for the system. I have my own reservation for the system. And when I'm talking about the system, I'm not just talking about the judiciary. I'm talking about all the arms of government. And repeatedly, time over time, it has proven to be a legitimate concern. So since we've agreed on that, let's not pontificate on that. Let's go to other facts. You see, I think there is a dearth of legal education among the among Nigerians. Because before you can enforce your rights, you actually have to know that right. You actually have to know the law that preserves the rights, and you actually have to know how to enforce those rights. There are times I read content on the internet, and people who are supposedly well-read, opinion leaders and opinion molders are making very uninformed remarks. For instance, I'm shocked that in the 21st century in Nigeria, we are still discussing about when there's a dispute between a man and a woman, the man is sending the spouse out and all that, and people are going to, Brekete Family and other platforms and all that. And I tell people all the time, Nigeria seems to be the country with the most robust set of law. If you look at the Violence Against Persons Prohibitions Act, you cannot do that to your spouse. It is a criminal offense. It is a punishable offense. You cannot kick them out of the matrimonial home. There are people who say that, oh, my spouse does not allow me to work and all that. If you look at the same law, it is an offense. You cannot foist a situation of financial dependence on a person, except the person says that, okay, this is the life that I want, this is what I choose.
I'm sorry. I will need you to take that again. You said that the law actually recognizes that as a couple, you cannot force financial dependence, maybe as a husband, on your wife. So you can't tell your wife that I don't want you to work. Stay at home.
You cannot do that. You cannot do that. You cannot force a state of financial hopelessness or undue dependence on anybody.
So the wife can decide to sue the husband in court for that, for telling her to sit at home.
If she decides to. So there are many laws. If you draw out Nigerian laws from the shelf, you are going to, a lot of discoveries that are interesting. But we have a population that, illiteracy is one thing, legal illiteracy is another challenge. So legal illiteracy is even rife among the educated people. So the build up to the election and during the election, people were making all sorts of, remarks and verdict and all that. I understand the need to, pander to public opinion. People want to, to be on the side of the people, so to speak. But I think it's always better to stay with the truth. What is verifiable, what is in the law, because that is the best way we can actually liberate people. We should not feed their ignorance. So while distrust in the judiciary is a valid reason, a valid basis, issue of delay in the administration of justice, I feel that, inability of many people to afford proper legal representation is another challenge, apart from the aspect of legal illiteracy. Many people cannot afford very good lawyers. It's a challenge. So,
when you use the word very good lawyers, it sort of puts a caveat to it. So are there bad lawyers?
Well, among every good set of people, there are bad groups. And among every bad set of people, there are the good ones. You cannot take it out, except you are trying to be politically correct.
So I would like you to, sorry to stay on this. I'd like you to just give it a context. Yes. What does a good lawyer, what is the context of a good lawyer?
Okay, so the context of a good lawyer transcends many indices. And the first is, sometimes you must be able to advise your client with probity. Most of the cases burdening the judiciary today are cases that have no business going before the courts.
Okay.
There are cases.
Oh, I think we lost David there. But thank you so much for your, of course, breakdown. Let me bring in Justice back. Justice, I believe you can hear me now. Okay. Justice, if you can, I read out a statistics. I don't know if you got that statistics. I would like your reaction to it. It appears that people would rather use informal sources to resolve disputes than take it to court. Why do you think that is?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please go ahead.
Okay. Repeat your question. Sorry, please.
I mean, according to that particular report, it said that about quite a number of people will rather, take issues that maybe should have been resolved in court, but instead they would rather resolve their problems using informal means, maybe like family, friends, rather than legal channels. According to that statistics, it says about 86% of Nigerians with legal problem would rather take that route. Why do you think that is?
No. The truth about the matter about it is that actually, in as much as I repeat, in as much as many Nigerians seem to have lost faith in our judiciary, but the truth is that judiciary is still the last hope of the common man. But we still need to do a lot in order to rekindle the trust ab initio that existed between the masses and the judiciary. So nowadays, yes, some people even believe that the law is not meant for the poor masses. But for me, I don't think it is like that. It is a challenge to judiciary. Yes, there are no questions about it. It is my
Justice, are you there? It appears we, of course, have a bit of connectivity issues with Justice, but let's go on a quick commercial break. When we return, the show continues. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. This is still Politics HQ on News Central Television, and of course, we are discussing the issue of defamation and, within the context of freedom of expression. I would like to, of course, bring in David into this last lap of this conversation. David, thank you for staying with me. Now, let's go back to the Dele Farotimi case. I mean, from a legal standpoint, how do you see this panning out eventually?
Okay. The court knows the law.
So but what are the options? What are the, variables now?
Okay, the variables, it goes to trial. Mr. Dele Farotimi is able to establish that his allegations against Afe Babalola is true. He walks home free. Or Afe Babalola is going to establish that indeed the publications are malicious, unfounded, and false. Mr. Dele Farotimi faces the music. Or lastly, considering that both Afe Babalola and Mr. Dele Farotimi are both, products of the same system. I'm talking about the legal profession. I believe that well-meaning legal practitioners and Nigerians could step in at any point and try to, find a way where collegial approach, out of court resolution can actually bring an end to what is happening, which is actually like what I would like to see.
You said something in your analysis. You talked about legal literacy. You said you said it's really not rife even amongst the educated. What do you think can be done to sort of make people aware of their rights? Because this also is a problem.
Yes. I think there are many entities, both government, non-governmental entities that are working themselves to white flames to try to educate people. But I think one of the challenges, I think we have people who are stubborn in ignorance. From time to time, I express views on issues of law. I've seen non-lawyers who come there and they want to argue with me. I just ignore. Because, you don't know something, someone is putting you right. An expert for that matter. I even see it in the medical line. I think certain professionals are disrespected. You could see someone raising a concern on the internet and the doctor says, look, go and see a specialist. And someone is saying that, don't mind him. The other time I used palm kernel and this and that. So for people like that, it could be difficult to help them. And many people, because they do not, appreciate services, Nigerians do not value whatever they cannot eat, they cannot wear, they cannot, drive and all that when it comes to services. So that is why a Nigerian will be willing to buy a property for 500 million naira and will do everything within his power to ensure that a lawyer is not involved. That is legal illiteracy. So if we take this part away from it, I think to an extent, many of the problems we have in relation to the administration of justice would be taken out. And I also recognize that indeed people, like private individuals, they actually use public institutions, the might of the state, to commit certain acts, which should not be. For instance, recovery of debt. The law is very clear that when it comes to recovery of debt, the police has no business. But till date, police are still arresting people on the allegations, the person is showing me is not paying. The Police Act, another law, makes it, outlaws the practice of arresting people in lieu of someone. But the police will still arrest a wife in lieu of the husband. They arrest a father in lieu of the son. These are practices that are not proper, but most of the time, we just hear it.
You said something pretty striking. You said in debt recovery, that the police has no right to arrest a debtor.
No. It's purely a civil matter. They have no business in that. It's in the law. It's in the law. They have no business in that.
So if someone is owing some money now, the lender cannot walk into a police station and report the case and then get officers to arrest the debtor.
No, you cannot do that. You can go to court. You can find order out of court means, collegial approach, friendly approach to get your money back. You cannot. It's not a police business. It's not a police affair.
Interesting. All right. I'd just like you to wrap up before we go. Sorry for breaking your line of thought. I needed people to understand that. Thank you. Continue. Your final thoughts.
Okay. So my final thoughts, progressive nations are decriminalizing the defamation. They are leaving it within the realm of just civil matters. If we look at the jurisprudence, which is the thoughts that birthed the idea of criminal defamation, is the belief that there are things you could say about the person that could put the person in harm's way. And if you could do that, it is criminal or something that could upset the public. But now it is becoming increasingly clear that defamatory matters are just personal. They hurt people's reputation. And that reputation can actually be cleared by civil matters. So I feel that the State's House of Assemblies in Nigeria, like Lagos did, like Edo did, they should take a proactive step and outlaw the practice of, criminalization of defamation. I do not think that it should be the stuff we should be discussing in a country like Nigeria in the 21st century. So I think that component should be out. But as it is today, the step Afe Babalola has taken is in line with the law. He has opted for one of two options. It is still within his right to opt for the second, to wait for the first leg before opting for the second. So in line with the law, he has acted within the law. But would I, personally, from my point of view, desire that we do not have to, grapple with this reality of the criminal component of defamation at this point in our life? I think yes. I would rather we do away with that.
All right. Thank you so much for your time on the program. David Ogundipe is a lead partner at Ernest Anthony LP. And of course, he joined us on the program. Once again, thank you so much. We also had Justice Uhuegbu, is a legal practitioner. He joined us, at some point also on the program. Gentlemen, that's all for now. Thank you once again. That's a wrap on today's episode. In case you missed out, there will be a repeat broadcast later tonight. You can actually also catch up on our YouTube platform. That's News Central TV. You have it on your screen there. You can choose to follow us across social media with the same name, News Central TV. You can also choose to follow me personally at Dakwo, at Digboye. Until I come your way tomorrow, good night.